Do you need a source for scroll saw ready boards for your projects? I think I've got a good one for you. Stay tuned. Steve Good here with the Scroll Saw Workshop. A few weeks ago, I made an arrangement with an online hardwood lumber seller, and the name of the company is Hardwoods Specialties. They've been in business for several years, and over the past, I don't know, probably year to 2 years, I've always been looking for an online source that I could recommend for people who come to my blog who do not have the capability in their shop of milling their own lumber to 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch thicknesses to come up with the material that you need to create the projects that I give the patterns away for on my blog. So I get thousands of emails every month from my readers, and some of those emails are from people that are recommending businesses that they do business with. And one of the companies that kept coming up over and over again was Hardwoods Specialties. And I never received a bad word about this company, and trust me, I get some of those also from other companies. But this particular company stood out. So a few weeks ago, I thought, I'll contact them and just see what kind of arrangement we can come to. So I contacted them. I made a deal with them to do some advertising on my blog in exchange for a few supplies. It's not a money exchange here. It's just they're going to supply me with some wood every month, and it's not a large quantity, but it's something that that I can use to help make the projects that I do here on the blog. They also agreed to send me a sample pack, is what I have in front of me right here, so I could do a review of their product for everybody to see. Now, since I started doing the advertising on my blog with this company, I've had nothing but kind words about them. I did have one email the other day from a reader who had received a product that warped after they got it in their shop, and I just got another email back from him tonight saying that Heritage Wood responded very quickly to his problem, and they are reshipping that board. So excellent service, and that's pretty much all I hear about this company. So without going into too much more detail, I'm going to get ready to open this box, and we'll just take a look at what they sent me. First, let's talk about the way this package was shipped. Again, it came from FedEx, and it did come in this large cardboard box, so it was well protected. The box didn't get any damage in shipping or anything, so everything looks real nice at this point. So let's go ahead and cut the tape off here. Take a look at the packing of the boards as we received them. And again, I have not opened this package, as you can see before. I wanted to do it, right here on camera with you guys. Okay, when I open it up, we've got some packing material to protect the boards. All of the material, oh boy, this is heavy. I may have a hard time lifting this out of here. Tell you what, I'm going to move the camera instead of moving the board so you can see this. Here's an inside look at the sample pack that Heritage Wood Specialties sent me. This is not an order that I placed. This is a sample pack that I asked them to just put together so I could review it here on the blog. So as you can see, it's wrapped in plastic wrap, which is excellent. Help keep the moisture out of the boards during shipping. You never know for sure where they're going to set in a warehouse overnight or something. So it's good that they're nice and protected. Everything looks very neatly packed. No damage on the inside, and we've got the packing slip here on the top. Let's get the packing slip out and see what they sent me. I've got the packing slip out. I'm just going to real quickly read over what they've sent me. When we were talking early on, I told them that the species that I was most interested in for my scroll saw projects was walnut and maple. So that's a lot of what they've sent me here, but then they also included some other stuff. I got a 12-inch by 16-inch maple board. It's actually a blank, and I'll explain that in a minute. It's 1/4 inch thick. I got a 12-inch by 16-inch walnut blank that's 1/2 inch thick. Another 1/4 inch 12 by 16 maple. Another walnut that's 1/4 inch thick, same size. I got 2 sheets of 1/8 12-inch by 24-inch piece of Baltic birch ply. I got a 1/2 inch 12 by 12 Baltic birch ply. I got 2 of the 1/4 inch by 24 inch by 24 inch Baltic birch plywood, and then I got a scroll saw pack, which will include different species of woods of different sizes. And it doesn't have the total for the cost on here for this, simply because it was, part of the deal that we made with Heritage, so there was no price to me. But maybe in the blog post I'll try to figure out what this would have cost and put that price down there for you. Okay, also in the box they sent me a catalog. They sell several different products. One are the scroll saw blanks, which we'll be showing you here in a minute. They also sell project packs, and they've got several different projects, including I guess we've got keepsake boxes, jewelry boxes, rocking horses, let's see, cribs, intarsia, hope chest or blanket chest. So they have project packs where they'll send you the wood needed to finish those projects. In the catalog they sent a price list, and what else have they got in here? They show their scroll saw packs where you can get 5 square foot, 10 square foot, 20 square foot, and the prices for those. So a nice little catalog. Of course you can get all this information on their website also. I will be putting the website for Heritage Wood Specialties in the description below the video. Let's start getting some of this wood out and take a look at it. Okay, I've taken a seat now. We're going to pull some of these boards out of here, maybe all of them. So if this video gets a little long, I apologize for that. But I do want you to see what kind of material you can get from this company. Everything looks beautiful just on the surface. I'm going to take it out, do some quick measurements to see what we got. It looks like on top is primarily the scroll saw pack, which comes in different square footages of pieces and different varieties. So real quick, it looks like right here on top we got a piece of walnut, and I may get some of these species wrong in what I call them, but it looks like this is 5 inches wide by 16 inches long. It measures in at a thickness of 0.245, so 1/4 inch thick. Looks like that's very close to the size. Beautiful piece of walnut. Nice grain, nice color. Looks like it's flat in both directions. Everything looks great with that piece. So nice piece of walnut. Let's go here. I think this is probably older. I don't recognize it because it's not a species I use very often, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Again, this is 15 1/4 inches long, 4 1/2 inches wide. Looks like easily is going to spec out to 1/4 inch. And it does, just shy of 1/4 inch. Again, this board looks flat. Everything looks wonderful with this board. It's sanded. They did a very good job in the sanding. So when you get these boards, they're ready to put on your scroll saw. That looks very nice. Here is a piece of lace wood. Again, this is part of the scroll saw pack. Looks like it's a little over 15 1/2 by 5 inches, 1/4 inch thick. This might be a little proud of 1/4 inch. It looks like it. Yeah, this is 2.7 inches, or I'm sorry, 0.27 inches thick. So that's a little proud of 1/4 inch, but again, it might have a slight bow, probably a 1/32 of an inch bow in the tangential direction. Looks pretty flat other than that. So that board could use a little flattening, but again, not bad. And a lot of these exotic hardwoods and even a lot of the domestic hardwoods are going to work a little bit. So acceptable. Let's see what we've got here. This looks like a piece of purple heart. Again, this is part of the scroll saw pack they sell. A little proud of 15 1/2 inches long, 5 inches wide. Looks very flat. This looks like it probably is right at 1/4. Again, it's 0.245, so right exactly at 1/4 inch. Been sanded to a very nice finish. Do have one little scuff mark on it, but again, very nice piece of board. Looks very flat, absolutely flat. Beautiful board. This looks like some bird's eye maple. Again, part of the scroll saw pack. 4 1/8 inches wide. A little short of 16 inches long. Very flat. Again, looks right at 1/4 inch thick. We won't measure it because that looks pretty good. Here we have what looks like some red oak. Again, part of the scroll saw pack. 16 inches by 6 inches. I would say that's just proud of a 1/4 inch thick, probably 2.6 without measuring. This board has a little bit of bow in this direction and maybe a 1/64 of an inch cut. Again, a very acceptable board. You could put that right on the scroll saw. Let's keep going. Here we have, I think this is probably zebra wood. This is going to be 3/4 of an inch, almost exactly, by 5 1/8 by 12. Beautiful piece of hardwood. Make a very nice accent piece for a beautiful clock or something like that. Just as flat as it can be. Again, these thicker boards generally don't cut or bow near as bad as the thinner wood, so this is dead flat. Looks beautiful. That'll make it a nice clock. Another piece from the, I'm assuming the scroll saw pack, because it's not something that I particularly was asking for. Pretty sure this is Bubinga. I've used Bubinga before, and I personally am allergic to this stuff. The dust that comes off of Bubinga is very fine, and if you have an allergy to it, it can be pretty serious. And for me, it's not that serious. It just makes me cough for several days after I get done. And if you make a big project out of this stuff, your whole shop, you know, will turn red because this dust is very fine, almost like a powder. Okay, this board is 16 by 3 1/2, 3/4 inch thick. Looks dead flat. Again, being a thicker board, it's probably going to stay flat. Let's keep going kind of quickly. This looks like it's probably, let's see, what would this be? This is probably poplar is what my guess. Yeah, it's either aspen or poplar. Again, a little proud of a 1/4 inch. No bow at all. No perceivable cut. Nice flat board. Beautiful even grain. Scroll saw ready. Ready to go right out of the box. Okay, this is, oh boy, I'm going to have a hard time with this one. It has a beautiful chatoyance to it. It looks like it's not going to be 1/4 inch thick. It's a little shy of that. It's 0.17, so fairly thin board. Let me look at their list here and see if I can make a guess what this is. This is probably rosewood, but I'm guessing at that. I'm not sure what this is, but it's part of their scroll saw pack. I do have a reference upstairs where I could probably figure out what it is, but it has a beautiful grain to it and a beautiful reflection. So again, dead flat for such a thin board, no perceivable bow, ready to go on the saw. This again looks like it's probably poplar. A little bit of a bow to it, maybe a 1/64 of an inch or a 30, maybe even a 32nd of an inch bow through the length. Looks like it's probably at least 16 inches long. Yeah, it's right at 16 inches by 5 1/4. It has a little bow and a little bit of a cut, which is not surprising for some of these less dense wood. This probably has an 1/8 of an inch cut to it. So this particular board I probably wouldn't put right on the saw. If you've been following my blog, you'll know that I showed some techniques for keeping your boards from bowing or cupping or checking, and also how to repair this bow if you need to. And this one I'll probably run through the process of repairing it before I use it. It's just a little bit out of what I would want to put on the saw. The reason why is when you put a board like this on the saw and it wants to pivot like this back and forth, it greatly increases the perceived vibration from the saw, and it makes it pretty hard to cut intricate fretwork. So there's a couple things you could do with this. One is repair it with the procedure that I had on my blog. The other is to cut it into smaller pieces and use it for smaller parts of your project. That'll work fine too, but probably not scroll saw ready. Let's see, what do we got here? This is another piece of that one I was having trouble recognizing a few minutes ago. I'm not absolutely positive what this species is. Again, it's just shy of 16 inches, 5 3/4 inches, and it's not going to be quite. This is probably what they're considering 1/8 inch thick, which was probably the other piece too. It's 1.7, and I guess 0.17, and 0.125 would be an eighth. So this is probably what they're calling an 1/8 inch. I'm sure that's what it is. Again, this board looks absolutely perfect. No cup, dead flat. Definitely ready to go on the saw. Okay, here is a 3/4 inch piece of very light wood. I don't know if this is basswood. It doesn't look quite the color of basswood, but it has the feel and consistency of basswood. Not a wood that I use, so I'm not positive what it is. Very light though. It's as light as basswood, but it's a little darker than basswood, so I'm not sure about that. It's 15 3/4 by 4 1/8 and 3/4 inch thick. Again, dead flat, thicker board, not going to cup near as bad most of the time. It's not sanded to quite the same finish, but I'm going to attribute that to the species this is. And to be perfectly honest, I have no clue. Unless this is butternut. This is probably butternut. That's what it is, I'm sure, now that I've looked at their list. So it will need a little sanding before you put it on the saw, or after, depending on the project. But a new species for me to work with. Let's see what else we got here. Here is a piece of red oak, 3/4 inch thick, again probably 16 inches. Yeah, 16.5 by 7 1/4. So this is a nice wide board that we can use for bigger projects. I don't use red oak very often, but it is appropriate for some cases. So there's a nice wide board, and it's always nice to have this extra width when your project needs it. So, and it is definitely dead flat. No cup, no bow, no checks. Everything looks good. It's been sanded to a nice finish. Okay, let's keep going here. I believe we're getting down now to, well, let's look at this first. This is, again, part of the scroll saw pack. And we're looking at 7.5 inches wide and 16.5 inches long, 3/4 inch thick. And this is probably Purple Heart, even though it's a little browner than normal. Looking at the end grain of it, I think it's Purple Heart. So there's a beautiful piece of wood that once that's finished out, and the fact that we've got this nice width to work with, that'll be great. And again, dead flat, ready to go on the saw. I'm going to take a break here just a second, and we'll come back and finish up. Had to get a drink there to keep talking. We're almost through what I would call their scroll saw pack, and I'm assuming without measuring that this was probably their 10 square foot scroll saw pack. I'm not sure about that, but that would be my guess. Here is a beautiful piece of yellow heart, 8 inches by a little shy of 16 inches, 3/4 inch. Actually, this is probably 4/4. It looks thicker than 3/4 for sure. Yeah, this is just over 4/4, so that's over an inch thick. That is a beautiful board. Dead flat, ready for the saw, sanded to a nice finish, and a beautiful, beautiful color. And again, we've got this nice width, so we can really do a nice big project with that. That's on my to-do list for sure. That's a beautiful piece of wood. A couple more boards here that are in the scroll saw pack. Not positive on the species, but it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Looks like these are a little under 13 inches in length. Yeah, 12.5 on that one by about 4 inches wide. Dead flat. Again, a little proud of 3/4 of an inch thick. A little bit of checking on the end of this board. Actually, this board has a pretty major check all the way down through it right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I have to, oh yeah, you can see here on the end grain, there's a check that runs off. This board would be a return. If I had purchased this, I would send this one back, or contact them. But again, Mother Nature is Mother Nature, and it's going to do what it will. No mill in the world can produce perfect boards every time. What Heritage Wood Specialties has assured me they do, and what their customers have told me, is that their quality control is very tight, and they do absolutely the best they can not to send out a bad board. But again, it's wood. It's a natural item. Mother Nature will cause checks, cracks, bows, cups. It's going to happen. So if you get a bad board, don't get upset. Just give them a call and they'll take care of you. So in this case, this one is bad enough, and this is the first board I've seen in the whole pack that would be bad enough to actually ask for a replacement for. But again, don't let this discourage you, because this is going to happen. Even if you buy lumber in the rough and mill your own boards, which is what I do most of the time, you're going to have some boards that are going to get away from you. So don't let that disappoint you too much. The other one looks perfect. Okay, now we're getting down into what they call their scroll saw blanks. And this is what I was most interested in. Here is a scroll saw blank of walnut, and it is 12 inches by 16 inches, 1/2 inch thick. And you can see this is a beautiful board. This is a glued up blank. In other words, they took, in this case 3 boards, and they edge glued them together. They color matched them before they did that, so you get a nice even look. They joint the boards perfectly, so you have a beautiful fit. You can almost not see where these boards were glued unless you're looking for it. So what this gives you is it gives you a nice large board that you can do all kinds of projects with. You know, if you want to cut this down into smaller size and use it, fine. But if you have a nice big project, say if you're going to do a big beautiful portrait style pattern, this would be a perfect use for this board. This one being 1/2 inch thick just gives you all kinds of options. This is what I was most interested to see from this company, is how good of a job they did with these blanks. And this first one, this piece of walnut, is absolutely flat. There's not even a 32nd or 64th of an inch bow across that whole 12 inch length or width. Perfect. That is a perfect board ready to go on the scroll saw. Just beautiful. I can't wait to use that. Some of these boards are going to require me coming up with a special project. Here is a piece of maple. Again, this is going to be the same size, 16 inches by 12 inches. But you can order these blanks in different sizes. This is 1/4 inch thick. Looks like it might be right at a quarter. Yeah, exactly at a quarter. So this one has been color matched. Matter of fact, I'm having to look for the seams. Wow, this board was color matched with absolute perfection. I can see one seam right there, the other one I can't see at all. They've matched it so well. Absolutely beautiful. Dead flat. I don't see any cup. I'm excited about this. These are beautiful boards. It's a curly maple, so it's got that beautiful glimmer to it. That board is going to finish out absolutely wonderful. Just a beautiful piece of board. Love it, love it, love it. Here is another scroll saw blank in walnut. This time, instead of a 1/2 inch, this one's a 1/4 inch. Again, these look, and my eye is pretty calibrated. That's exactly a 1/4 inch thick. Wow, dead flat, beautifully sanded. And the color matching on this one is absolutely superb. You could almost put this in a panel on a cabinet door and not be able to tell it was a glue up. Not only have they matched the color, they've matched the grain. It's almost like they book matched. Well, this one you can see there's a little bit of difference in the grain, but still this pattern right here joins together well. These guys have a real eye for matching these up. It would take me a minute if I bought this board to convince myself that it was a glue up. I can see the seam right here. This one over here is right here, but I can barely see it. That is beautiful. And again, you can take my bias in this if you want, because they gave me these boards. They're going to give me a few boards every month, you know, for use here on the Scroll Saw Workshop in exchange for the advertising I do. So if you want to consider that bias, please do. But if you can look at this board and find a flaw in it, write me an email and let me know, because I don't see it. That's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Here is the 1/2 inch scroll saw blank out of maple. This one has maybe a 1/16 of an inch cup in this direction. And again, maple's just horrible for cupping. You just have to be so careful with maple. It is dead straight in the other direction. Sanded nice. You can see the seams in this. It was still color matched very well. But you can see this board right here was separate. This looks like it was made out of 1, 2, 3, 4 boards. Still a beautiful job, but this one you could not probably use in a panel full size. You could use it for a scroll saw project full size, but if you were like making a cabinet door, this would be a little too noticeable. But still, I would not hesitate to use that board in any project I make. And the curl in this maple just absolutely looks 3D. I wish you could see that on the camera, but you probably can't. But the curl in this maple is beautiful. Again, another board that I'd be proud to use. Everything else in this box is Baltic burst plywood, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on it because you know what Baltic burst ply is. It looks like it's free of defects on both sides. These are 1/2 inch slabs. Looks like they're 12 by 12. Got some 24 inch by, what is that, 24 by 12, 1/8 inch thick. This is the material that I use to do portrait style patterns, so very handy. And I think there's some more larger sheets in here of Baltic burst plywood. Looks like a great source also for your Baltic burst plywood needs. So don't forget while you're on their site to take a look at that also, because as scrollers, you know, we use a lot of Baltic burst plywood. Could not be happier with this sample pack. Again, consider my bias if you want. I did get this for free. I am going to get a little bit of wood from them every month for free. But I am not disappointed, and I will stand by that firmly. This is just an absolutely beautiful sample pack of wood. I could not be more impressed. Is it perfect? No. Can you buy perfect wood? No. Nowhere can you do that. Every mill that ships out lumber has issues. That's why most of them won't ship out. Oops, sorry about that. That's why most of them won't ship out thin boards like this, because they know it's a problem. But obviously, Heritage Wood Specialties has gone out of their way to make sure these boards come to you in as nice of condition as they possibly can, and that's what I see here. Again, I can refer back to the post from the other day on how to care for this lumber once you get it in the shop. The humidity is going to be different in your shop than it is where these were stored and possibly where they set for a day or two during shipment. So do take some precaution with them. You can be pretty safe to just put these back in the box they were shipped in if you're not ready to use them. Put some plastic coat wrap, back around them, and that'll probably keep them pretty well. Let them dry out slowly or acquire moisture slowly in your shop, and they're less likely to warp. The maple boards are probably the most notorious for that in my observation anyway. So do take special care with the maple boards you get, especially the thinner ones. So I hope this unboxing and review helps you guys. I am proud to be associated with Heritage Wood Specialties. They've been around for several years. I've received just nothing but compliments from the company and the owners. I think they do a great job. So with that, I'm going to stop this rather long video and let you guys get back in your shop and make some projects. I'm Steve Good. Thanks for being here with me at the Scroll Saw Workshop.